Well, you know how it is with mathematics and equal sharing, which is absolute high precision celestial creation mechanics, perfect mathematical timing factors and change of echo maps. And so I just experienced because there's geckos in here, and so you know what happens when something hatches out of an egg and it's not experiencing any love from the mother from which it came. And so what does it do all day? So that for me, that's like the whack-a-mole game. So you realize when you're using your electrical power to consume the electrical power from another, that's a reduction in your own electrical power. Okay, so you're losing light in your own mirror until your mirror goes black. That's what a parasite is. Okay, so an eternal energy matrix does not experience that, ever. And so I knew that at 4 years of age. And that's called a tether. A safe zone tether is experiencing that silver sphere in your pineal gland. That's you. Directly connected to the silver and gold mated core. That is an eternal energy matrix, which is eternal, pure, absolute love. It's on fire, which is cosmic fire, which is cosmic love. So we're not ever losing any electrons. That's why when I was a child, I'm experiencing what I am, which is what you are, which is what I am, which is what love is. So if I'm experiencing a reduction in you, then I know that there's something wrong with the system because I'm running a test light, which is called an engine test, like an engineer, like a tech support engineer test. You know, the engine light in your vehicle goes off, something's wrong with the motor, something's wrong with the codes. We'll test the codes. The codes don't operate correctly. Well, how come? Well, why do you think? Because they're not compatible. One is feeding on the other. Right? The primal sound and light field. Because of the finite energy system. That's what finite energy systems do. These are the lessons we've learned as a result of the Boards of Matrix Quarantine. And why we're here now as crisis intervention. Right? So I knew before I was actually born the level of precision that was required. And Ashiana Dion, in one of the workshops on behalf of the Guardians, brought that out about a vote being taken, about, if you will, risk factors when you're trapped in the experiment, right? And how that relates to extraction, right? And so I'm very familiar with all that. There was a lot of very detailed information that I was actually already aware of, and then she echoed it in the future, what I was experiencing when there isn't a time. You know, in other words, when she was echoing that information, I was already aware of that information because I was aware of that on the big eye before I ever saw her on a video. I was already aware of that. Now I become aware of what she's communicating in my future, but it's just another moment, just another completion of a circle of light, real light. Yeah, and so that's why I'm consuming less codes over wave speed vectors and eliminating running those codes. And I've been doing that actually since I came out of my mother's womb in 1951. Right, to restore power, which is to restore balance and remember who I am, to experience pulling the prime, right, the vacuum, the still point of a true vacuum, to experience that echo. I never left home. And how long it was going to take me to experience that echo again, right, again, a gain of mathematical function, which is mathematical integrity. Right, which is spiritual integrity, which is spiritual honor, because we honor the first code, the first spirit, the eternal spirit of fire, the eternal spirit of absolute pure love, an eternal life energy matrix. It is perfectly balanced. That's how simple that is. So I wanted to, this is a beautiful day. Every day is beautiful. We celebrate our life, our living spirit with what love is, and we share that with others. So they experience what we experience, and that helps raise, elevate like a lift. I know. the electrodynamically linked libraries of what I'm recording, that I'm experiencing in my record. Now they're experiencing the sound recording that I'm sharing with them, that they're experiencing and recording in them. As code transfers, as bioregenesis, re-encryption, to experience the original codes, the divine codes, the divine template, and the speed at which we're able to do that. And that's really what it was our ability to do that, the timing factor, to be able to do that. I had somebody ask me online, I believe his name is Jeremy Phillips, when I told him that I usually work with children because it doesn't take very long for them to learn how a vacuum gauge operates, the still point of perfect balance, structural, spiritual integrity. It's actually quite simple. And with a 5-year-old child can learn how the universe works in 5 minutes. Take them up to a fire engine, right? Which means they don't need to go through spending thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and millions of dollars going to their schools, which are corporate parasitic military schools, which are military hierarchical systems. Just like yesterday, I watched a short video of what's called a captain's mast, right? And so you know that when you go into the military, okay, and you're choosing to get paid to do that job, then that's a contract. That's an electrical contract, okay, to choose to allow your battery power to be in service to a war machine. Okay, and we can't escape that truth. The video machine, the Wayback Machine, and that's machine learning. And so machines obey other machines. So machines have an orderly dysfunction. And so that orderly dysfunction is an offset between one and the other, knowing one and the other, Ersan. And a phantom doesn't exist without electrical power. So I was holographically, mathematically mapping those codes, represented by those codes, what they experienced running those codes, because they wore uniforms, right? They wore uniforms with badges and insignia. And so a young sailor had made a number of errors. A number of errors. So now he's being brought before what they call a captain's mast, as that relates to admiralty law and water. And so he was being cited, just like a law enforcement officer gives you a citation, right? A ticket, like a meal ticket, which is an electric bill, because the courts operate as banks, bloodline bank accounts, tied directly to our soul, Rishi, the essence of our spirit and our soul. And so he was being called to the carpet, as we say, and the captain would read off all these violations. You did this, 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 and this. And those are called rule-based functions. You broke this rule, this rule, this rule, this rule. And those are code violations because the captain said, we have a uniform code of military justice. So I'm the justice, okay, but I'm not the justice of the peace, okay? I'm the justice. I'm going to be judging you because we're a war machine. That's Judgment Day, Terminators, Rise of the Machines. So the captain had this sailor before him and said, hey, you did all these. I find you guilty for all these code violations. So this is what we're going to do. And I remember my father telling me this because my father was a naval commander, squadron commander. And he told me that they used to, if you violated the rule-based functions of machines, AI, alien machinery, okay, you would be punished, like truth or consequences. And the consequences this sailor was given was bread and water for 3 days. Oh, number 3 days. 3 days, all you get is bread and water, okay? And so then they apply as an application of conscious directed codes that represent that system, which is a finite energy system, okay, that your consciousness is going to apply yourself to run those codes, but you're going to experience the future potential memory of being punished. And that punishment is what they call extrinsic learning. So they're learning to obey the machines. And if you don't obey the machine, this is the punishment. To obey. So that's why when they memory load all those programs, that's what they're judging when they give you a grade in one of their schools. How well were you able to load those codes by virtue of being able to regurgitate it like mimic back to me or back to them, their instructors, like the curriculum, then when the curriculum is developed, right? What you loaded through all your circuitry. So now you're going to run that as a memory module. And that's memory-driven programs, which is memory-driven what? False light echo maps. Okay, so now you're running their codes instead of Airstone. Because that's what they are. They're war machine factories. So you know what a factory reset is, what a cosmic reset is, right? You know, they use the word reset too, right? Reset the machine, huh? It doesn't zero out to 0 degrees to the eternal still point of a true vacuum. So the allocation numbers that Kim Gogun talks about, those allocation numbers are tied directly to our electrical power, which is an eternal energy matrix. Which means those allocation numbers don't exist without our electrical power, which is our electrical consent. So we don't give consent to play war games using allocation numbers. Because then we're choosing to give consent to use those numbers to play a game. And that's a trap experiment. That's the Borders and Maxis quarantine. Now, we all know that. The Founders Guardian Alliance knows that. The Emerald Covenant, which is co-peace, co-prosperity, co-creation, right? First law. First law is first flame. That's eternal innocence, which is purity, which is do no harm. Yeah. And so these are the lessons learned. So what I do sometimes, I'll go in there because you have a lot of sailors. Hey, I was on this carrier, and I'll put this in there. Now they become aware of what I become aware of. And I share what I become aware of with them. Now they're aware of that. So now they're going to process that. Now they're going to process those codes. Right? And that's where you get into the translation of codes, which is frequency, which is sequence. Their ability to process that and go, wow, hey, I got that. Yeah. Now they're looking at themselves. Why was I doing that? And that's when you get into full exposure. Exposing the codes that they're held captive to. Because they believed a pathogen, a parasitic liar, to put a dog tag on. Right? So that would be like a dog, a bear that's out in the woods, a free bear, a free spirit, comes up to you and you're a parasite. And that bear comes up to you and says, hey, listen, put a dog tag on me, will you? Put a collar on me and keep track of me. So you know where I'm always going, right? Then you can study me, right? And I'm your property because you got a tag on me and a collar on me. So what are you going to do? Put me in a zoo? Yeah, they do that too. Holding energy captive. And then what they do is they put them all on display and charge us to go see them. And instead of going out into that forest and become friends with the bear, so that you can experience the bear in a free state, a free spirit. Now you really get to know the bear. Right? That's why those signs are up there. Please don't feed the bears. Please don't feed the bears those codes. Those are not the right codes. Don't feed the bear 222 codes. Right? Knowing the difference in codes is translating the difference between eternal life and deadlight, a false light vacuum. So again, that's why we're here. Again, like a gain of mathematical function, just like on a radio set. Right? A radio star. And yeah, first law star nations. Absolutely. And so that's because we honor the highest code of honor. The higher octaves, the higher ekavekatones, the higher plasma tones. Be cool. Ah, yeah. Muemaya.